Richard Smith from NAACP, and someone else carried on Community Crossfire, and I think they did an incredible job. So I want to thank you guys for keeping the torch burning. So this is a Father's Day edition. I have a few good friends with me, Jack Booker, Shannon McCants, and Wayne Jefferson. We're going to talk about fatherhood, because pretty much our fathers was in our lives or wasn't in our lives. I let those guys say it in their own way, but I thought it was important that we say now that we are fathers. How is to be a father on this Father's Day? Also, we're going to be talking a lot about politics, ladies and gentlemen, as we move down the road, especially as Community Crossfire, because we support a number of people, including the mayor, Mike Brzezicki. So we don't mince our words. City Council President Honey Fisher Bass, and of course my sisters Anthony Oliver, and we support so many others, and we won't mince words. You know, it's kind of funny. You know, like, we're no chumps. Like, you know, you could get into, I came from this side of town, I grew up in this side of town. Either you grew up in Southbridge, East Side, West Side, North Side, or Riverside. I mean, it's not too many places blacks grew up that you didn't grow up a little tough. So, I mean, some of these people are yapping. And by the way, we've probably run 100 campaigns and 195, so we're used to winning. And we will have a team. So don't think that you're the only one have a team. I don't want to get into calling people names, Jack. I will get into that another time, because I want to be humble. It's Father's Day. I want to be a nice guy. But they will be handled. And we will win. They will, you know, it's fun, like we don't know people who are on social media, right? Like, we don't know people who get on Facebook and Instagram. I don't know a damn thing about it. But trust me, we will take care of some of you phonies, and that's what you are. So I said I'm gonna be on my best behavior, Shannon. Hey, how you doing, Jack?
I'm doing super fantastic, Storm.
How you doing, Shannon?
I'm doing great.
So Jack, let me start with you, man. By the way, happy Father's Day.
Thank you.
And I talked a little bit, like, I knew my father, right? But my mother raised us. We grew up in Southbridge, and I think we all can have stories. Tell me a little bit about your story and now how it is for you being a father, and sometimes, I guess, and you can tell me better than myself, being fatherless.
Yes. Well, I grew up with no father, Storm. Actually, I didn't even meet my father till I was 22 years old after I graduated from Delaware State University. But I can remember years ago when I turned 18, I told my mom, I said I will never ever do to my children what my father did to me. Mm-hmm. So that was an opportunity for me to break the cycle. And what I mean by breaking the cycle, about taking on the responsibilities, giving my kids the guidance, direction, to support the loving and the caring that they needed, something that I didn't get from my father. So my thing was to change that. And I was thinking about that the other day, how really I done changed 3 generations already. When you take a look at where I came from and what I've been through growing up with no dad, and now that I fathered and dad to my children, my daughters, and then my granddaughters. And so now I can see that already, based on me taking on the responsibilities like a father should, you know, providing, giving loving and caring and helping and support, that I'm changing the cycle, and for the next 3 generations when I look at my daughters and my granddaughters.
Hey, Jack, do you regret it, or do you wish in some kind of way that your father was there? Like, it's certain things, or I guess like a father-son, certain conversations that only a father and son can have. Do you regret that, or do you, I mean, of course you've been successful in your own right. You've been in Texas and run YMCAs, and of course you've ran 2 YMCAs here. You're executive director. I'm sorry, go ahead.
You missed what you never had. But through my journey in life so far, there was times when I didn't know my dad, but my aunts always told me, I just saw your daddies around here, but I know I look like my mother. Mm-hmm. But I was very curious about my father. You know, did I look like him? Did I have his traits, his height, walk, or anything? And so, no, I really didn't miss him, because I had other people in the community to step up as role models. You know, I can remember Mr. Hart, my teacher in the 5th grade. some guys in the park, Bobby Diller and so on and so on. So I had about 3 or 4, maybe 5 guys.
So it's almost like a village.
It was a village. It was a village. So that part I didn't miss, but I always wondered, and when I see other people who interact with their father, what could have happened and what could have been if I would with my father.
Shannon, how you doing?
Hey, how you doing today?
And Shannon, of course, I mean, you again, ladies and gentlemen, if you're just tuning in, this is a Father's Day edition of Community Crossfire. Your host, Norman Oliver. We have Jack Booker, Shannon McCann, so we have Wayne Jefferson come on. Shannon, you heard a little bit about Jack's story, and I don't know, you knew your father, but probably like me, he wasn't around, or he was around because I knew your father. Tell me a little bit about your story.
Yeah, and I think everyone has different stories or whatever, but it's pretty kind of similar to a lot of the kids that grew up that's around my age, where you have a father, he's not really in your life like that. You might know who he is. I heard Jack Booker say his father wasn't in his life at all, but I did know who my dad was. And a lot of my friends might have known who their dad was, but for some reason, my dad wasn't around for like that. And as you get older, you start understanding that it could have been a lot of multitude of different reasons or whatever the situation was. But, some kind of way, when you get older, you think it kind of did affect me. Being a pretty good athlete or something like that, you sometimes want your dad to possibly be at the games, or was he there, or he was not there. It's a lot of different things, but I did know who my dad was. I never had any hard feelings because we always had a pretty good relationship whenever we did see each other. But something that Jack said kind of stuck with me. I just remember saying, if I do have a son, I just wanted to make sure that I did a little bit more than what my dad did, because I just wanted to make sure I was there for some of the steps as far as academically, athletically, socially, some of the things, because a lot of times we learn from our neighborhoods as far as what the guys are doing, or we learn from our mentors and stuff like that, what Jack Booker said. So even though he was there, I felt like a lot of times you learn from in your neighborhood, from your uncles, the guys on the streets and stuff like that.
Something interesting, and you and Jack were both athletic. I mean, Jack had a stellar career at PS as a defensive back, and you had a stellar career at Newark High School and Lincoln University as a point guard.
Right.
Yeah, I was going to say that. Like, those times, right? Like, the mothers was there, right? But it's nothing like that father, right? Like, senior day, stuff like that. I don't know what transpired. So I'm asking you, how did that feel? How did that feel, right? I mean, like, in knowing that he was a phone call away, unlike Jack, who was 22 when he met his father, you knew your father, right? I know Rich.
Yeah. Smooth dude from what I hear too. They say I got a lot of my traits from him. But on the same token, just to kind of answer your question, you get so immune to it. You know what I'm saying? Like, you grow up so much, and like, not just me personally, but all my best friends. Like, it's not like it's just me. It's like all of us was like, okay, his dad not around. So it becomes almost a norm. So if he wasn't there for a special occasion, it wasn't like it would really hurt me where I'll be depressed or go in a room and say, what? It wasn't like that. And if I seen him the next day after I graduated or just had a triple-double in basketball, it would just still be cool. I wouldn't be have a, hey, Dad, I love you, or have a great conversation, but a, hey, respect, whatever. And I just kind of keep it moving, because you just grow up and it just becomes so immune in your neighborhood and with me. And so it wasn't a big deal to it. It just was a cultural thing, if I'm saying that right.
It probably should be. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. If you're just tuning in, you are watching Community Crossfire, and this is a Father's Day edition. Black fathers without fathers now becoming black parents. And guys, I just saw a statistic that kind of brought me to a realization that 70% of black fathers who are in their families, or with their families, wife, whatever, raise their kids in their kids' life, compared to white fathers, 63%. So the black parents who are in their sons and daughters' life, they're in their daughter's son's life. So there's a misnomer that the black father's not around. And really, us who are in our lives are really involved with the kid's life. So Jack, what more could you add to this kind of conversation? Like, oh, by the way, I just found out that I have a brother who's in London who's 64 years old and never met my father. So really that. So, I mean, could you imagine the pain that he's had? That, he didn't realize that he had 9 brothers and sisters. He thought he was the only son. I mean, God, can you imagine that?
Wow.
Dawn, one of the things that I wanted to add was that I think is crucial, that a lot of times fathers are in the household, meaning under the roof, but they're not being a father. You understand? And sometimes, I guess, when you give them money or you're there, but, give them direction, give them support, train them to be men, being involved, give them some direction, because that's the most important thing, because you want to raise your sons up to be, or to make sure that when it's time to make the right choice, the right decision, that they're familiarized with that so they can make the right choice and the right decision. But I know some of the guys they pay child support and they think that's being father, but it's not being a father. You have to be engaged, you have to be involved. When they fall, you're there to pick them up, to give them some guidance and direction. So, I tell you, I'm praying and I'm hoping that people who are looking in the audience get a lot out what Shannon and I and Wayne and you are sharing today, that your sons and your daughters need you. They need your presence. They need you involved. They need you engaged. You know what I mean, Storm? So I just wanted to share that part.
No. I mean, this is Crossfire. I mean, show what's on your heart. I mean, you would never be censored on the show. Like, I was going to ask you guys, how do you be a father, right, when you never had a father? Ain't that deep? Think about that. We were asked to be fathers, right? And we never had a roadmap, right? Besides Jack, what you said, like, I know a lot of white guys were in my life, like Mr. Lee Stanton at Newark High School, Dr. Sager Trine at Neighborhood House. And sometimes it was that, like you said, Jack, it was that community village, and especially my grandmothers, my grandfathers, my aunts, uncles, you know what I mean, and my mother, you know what I mean? So they had to be that person, Shannon.
Yeah, if I can just kind of piggyback off what you're saying right there, and it is deep when you think about that, to be like, how can you become the best father you want to be when really you might not have had a father, or your father wasn't there, and sometimes you have some grandparents that's there or whatever. But I just think it's pretty interesting, because if you look at it, me and my wife kind of talk about it, and it's just like, how can you teach kids to mow the lawn or work on a car or something? And I'm like, I don't have no dad or somebody that taught me how to do that. I'm a city boy now, living in the suburbs, but I wasn't growing up learn how to, do grass and do certain things like that. But you just do the best that you can and try to teach them, what's right, what's wrong, and try to be there as much as you can, because I think it is important. Sometimes you get dads that are in the house, but they got to be money makers. So they can't be in the house all the time to help raise that kid, because they got to be out making the money to support the kids for whatever they may need. And so it's so many different circumstances. But I think the most important thing is to have mentors and people around that are father-like. And I think both of you guys actually on the stage was that to me. It's a lot of other guys in the community that I don't know if they really have that these days, but that was really, really important. I grew up going in the YMCA where, Jack Booker, he's like a brother like that now, but back then he was like a father figure. I played in the Storm and Norman's Classic, even though I was a young boy and he wasn't 10 years older than me, but we looked at them guys as, wow, look how successful these black guys are, and they teaching us right from wrong. So as we going up in the city, it's powerful. You always going to do something that's just not right. But sometimes it'll trickle down that when you're doing stuff, you be like, I'm probably letting Book down, I'm letting Jack down, but you still got to do what you got to do. But it's just that conscious of having a mentor, somebody that powerful. So even though I do that for my kids and I work with kids to this day because of people like y'all, I just want to make sure that I want to be like a father figure to them, because I tell them, look, I kind of made it without a father around like that. This guy didn't. Like, you can still make and be something that you want to be by just making the right decision. So it's fatherhood is tricky, but as long as you got mentor and father like people in the community or people that work with you, I think, a lot of our kids can be successful.
Shannon, that's interesting. Anyone, if you're just tuning in to Community Crossfire, we're having a Father's Day edition. And happy Father's Day to all the fathers out there. Happy Father's Day to all the mothers who are fathers. And happy Father's Day to the grandmothers and grandfathers and uncles who are fathers. It's interesting what you just said, Shannon and Jack. And Shannon, I want to throw this question out to both you guys. We hear a lot, right, on the news, and we talk to a lot of people, and you guys dealt coaching and YMCA's Classic, and a lot of times, guys, well, my father wasn't there, so that's why they're in Ferris, that's why they're in Smyrna, that's why they're wherever. What makes us different? What makes us different than the guy who's in a detention center in Smyrna, and he's saying, well, if I had my father there, it may have been different. What makes us different?
I'll take a shot at that. For me, Storm, for me, it was observing my surroundings and knowing what is right and what is wrong and what feels good and what doesn't feel good. It's that instinct, you know. So when I seen things that wasn't right, instead of me going left, I would go right. And I would observe, but I had an uncle in my life too, who's no longer here, who was a great example. And he was one of the ones that ended up in Smyrna, but he, at a young age, when I wanted to hang with him and he was going the wrong direction, he would make sure he pushed me back in the right direction.
Wow.
And I didn't realize that till I got older, what he meant to me in my life at that age, 10, 11, and 12, because I could have easily been in Smyrna or been 6 feet under, but because of my uncle that guided me and directed me, said, hey, you're not doing what I'm doing. We ready to go do something that ain't right. You go that way. So, but again, I paid attention and I looked and I observed and didn't feel right, because we get in a certain age, we know the difference between wrong and right, Storm. And sometimes you don't let your environment dictate who you become.
Okay. Shannon, you said a lot about some of your friends were fatherless, and it was like a norm. So what makes you different than the norm?
I think Jack hit it on the nose. I think each person is their own individual, have their own thoughts, but you also get a lot of people that's followers. So you get some leaders and you get some followers. Then, like you said, you got people in your neighborhood that really used to care back in the day. And I can kind of piggyback, because being a younger guy, even though I wanted to hang with the big boys on 9th and P, from time to time, when they know that I had potential, they said, no, man, take your butt back down the street, because it's a lot of riffraff up here and you don't need to get caught up in that. So when you got people that care about you, I think that plays a big part. But also, you got to make sure that you want to make the right decisions, because if you want to make the wrong decisions, it's just a matter of time, because it'll gobble you up out there. So you really got to be smart. And I try to teach a lot of the kids that I work with. I tell them it's not where you live, it's how you live. That's one of my big things that I just try to teach the kids. And like I said, make good decisions. To be successful in life, I think, is two things. And that's one, if you can get a good education, and two, if you can stay out of trouble. I mean, think how simple that is. So that's what I try to teach the kids. So a lot of times people are acting like they doing this and that. It's real simple. Stay out of trouble and get an education, and watch how this takes you. Now when you go get a job, you don't got to back no charges. You got a good education. Now if I own a program, of course I know who you are. I know your family. You working for me if nobody else want to give you a job. So I just try to promote that. But you got to be strong-minded, and you got to have people in the community that really got your back, and hopefully have somebody praying for you, which is my grandmother, just looking over top of me and just praying for me when I was out on the street. So you got to always have somebody that's praying for you, because I didn't know, but I was lucky.
Thank you. So what we're going to do is we're going to take a quick break. We're going to bring Wayne on. Then we want to, Ivan, at the end of the segment, we're going to bring all three of the guys on. But I hope you're enjoying the show. If it gets a little touchier, if it's touching someone, we keep it real. This is Community Crossfire, another point of view. I'm your host, Stormin Norman Oliver. Back to Community Crossfire, another point of view, and welcome to our Father's Day edition. I hope you're enjoying it. And I get a text from my girl, Lynn Matthews. She's coming out of town and she wants shout-outs. Okay, you got a shout-out. Okay, shout-out, how you doing? Cheese and crackers. I mean, just come in here and co-host the shows. Damn, you can't even talk. I'm trying to co-host the show. Yeah, give me a shout-out, okay? See, I should have gave her a shout-out last week, Ivy, you know what I mean? That's what happens, And then Naya and they'll take, oh, Naya, this is what we should do. Shout out, yeah. Cheese and crackers. Can I do the show now? Welcome back to Community Crossfire. And by the way, this is a Father's Day edition, not a Mother's Day edition. That's next year. Cheese and crackers. How you doing, Ivan?
I'm good. I'm good,
See
Storm.
what I got to go through?
Hey, brother, better you than me.
So, Ivan, unlike me, Wayne, Shannon, and Jack, you knew your father. I knew your father.
Yeah.
Tell us a little about your relationship with your father and what this Father's Day mean to you.
I think that, after listening to Shannon and Jack, how their father wasn't present, and now they're forced to be the fathers and the husbands and the black men that they are today. My father was in his position when he was growing up. So when my father had me, he wanted to make sure, my father had an 8th grade education, but Joe Thomas made sure that I understood the ability and the art of hustle and to be proud of who I am and the color of my skin. My father was an entrepreneur. My father was self-made. My father taught me just how to stand up for what's right, how to speak what's on my mind, how to go after what I want, and have just there's no such thing as quit. And it's embedded in me. And with that, I just learned so much from that man. And so when he passed, it was now time for me to just carry on the legacy of Joe Thomas.
You know, Ivan, when you was going through what you went through with DTV, and it's well documented, I mean, you got a hard time. And I heard you say, my father told me to be proud of the color of my skin. Yeah. And just because you fought to get this as a black man, you were being questioned about that. What do you think your father would have said to you, and how did you feel?
Well, you got to understand, Storm. My father came from Newport News, Virginia, right? So there was a lot of. He would just say, "Move, keep your feet moving, and go." And there was no giving up, because you remember my father, Storm, Absolutely. And who he was in the neighborhood. Like, everyone loved Joe Thomas, and Joe didn't care if you liked him or not, but you would respect him, and that was the thing. And with that respect came a lot of success, and the success is what you're looking at right now, the bloodline, the legacy of me, my son Ivan Joseph Thomas, and my daughter Madison Thomas. You know, and that's what it is, bro.
Ivan, what do you miss?
I miss him.
Joe here. What do you miss?
I miss my best friend.
Wow.
Joe, I call him Joe when I needed a friend to talk to. I called him Dad when I needed a hug or advice. But Joe was this man that just had this zeal about him, about life. And I miss my conversations. And even to the day, I look out the window or be in the control room and I say, Dad, how am I doing? Or Dad, what should I do? Wow. And somehow, some way, a red cardinal come, and that red cardinal, it's his home, his bird, the bird of his state, and I know everything's going to be all right. I made a video about my dad when he passed, and in the video I said, even though I might miss my father in the physical form, my father is everywhere I need to be spiritually, and I do miss him, but man, he's everywhere I need him to be. Like right now, he's here.
Well, I mean, we're talking about fatherhood, and it's well documented. You were sending out videos and about your daughter. I think your daughter had some kind of ailment when she was younger, but you were always there. That epitomized, right, fatherhood. And do you think you picked some of that up from your father? And if you want to talk about that, tell us what that means going through that with your daughter as a black man and as a father.
Oh man, yeah, I would be.
It's a tearjerker, by the way.
Oh, it is a tearjerker. It is. So my daughter Madison was born at 25 and a half weeks, 1 pound 3 ounces, emergency C-section. Spent 308 days in the NICU, and at the same time of her being born, my dad was dying at another hospital across town. So it took every inkling and every bit of me to just what WWJD, what would Joe do? And what Joe did, and with me growing up, is he made sure he was present. He didn't have a lot of money, and I took care of him financially, but he was always there. Now, when my daughter came home, I was there. When she was at the hospital, I was there. I needed to make sure that beyond everything else, that she would, and just like Shannon and just like Jack, that their kids would know their voice. They would know that they're there. They would know that they're protected by Daddy. And you remember the pictures and going through the whole thing. She knows Daddy. And one thing I stress to black men is to make sure that you're present. Make sure that your child and knows your name. Make sure that the community knows your name, because there wasn't a blueprint for a lot of black children and black fathers. So we have to learn off of one another. We have to get knowledge from one another, and we all have to love one another and say, hey, this is how I got through it. Let me show you. This is how I handled a financial burden. Let me show it. A lot of us are just winging it. So, but with that, I learned so much. I didn't become a man until my dad died. I was forced. I was forced to be a man. There was no more running to his house to go talk to him. It was, I got to figure this stuff out.
Wow. And and most people would never know that.
Yeah.
I mean, sometimes they look at the successes now compared to look at the struggles early on.
Yeah.
That makes sense, right? The successes now compared to the struggles.
Yeah.
So, I mean, like, what would you say to people about fatherhood, but especially in this day and time about Black fatherhood?
What would I say? That's a great question.
That's why I'm here.
I would say right now, this is the best time in our history to become to be a Black dad, a Black father. Now, Storm, just like you, born and raised over South Bridge. You was born, was it Townsend Street, B Street? Where was it at?
Actually, we were born actually in Arbor Place in the old projects.
In the old projects.
Then to claim my street and then back to
Right.
the project. So yeah.
Right, and just like that, it's like you're a mentor to so many.
That's
so
why I said you don't have to apologize for a damn thing.
not at all. Why? Like people don't know
I was
that.
gonna say another word, but I don't want to get.
Don't worry about it. We got the station, bro. we got the network. Don't even worry about
I
it.
got the lady with the hammer out there. I didn't want to say it.
Yeah, what I would say right now to Black fathers is a perfect time to be a father.
Right.
It's a perfect time to be a Black man. You can see the changes that society's making. You can even see the changes that we're making in a state, and with the collaboration between Richard Raw and the mayor Mike Krasicki, what they're doing. Like, why not be a Black dad right now? And if you don't know how to be a Black dad right now, just lean on another Black father and just say, how do I? How can you? How should I? And I think right now, man, that we can take this time and become the best superhero that we can possibly be. So I'm gonna look. I gotta get back to producing your show, right? So I'm gonna get my cake.
I was going to kick you off. But since you volunteered to leave, bye bye.
All right.
Who pays somebody and then interviews them? What kind of country is this? Dude, speaking of fatherhood, since I was big brother, you think you can pay me back some of the money you owe me? This guy was using my office for like a year. Let me embarrass him on TV.
Okay.
I'm joking with you, man.
No. But tell him what you did though, as a Black man, as a black father. Tell him what you did.
I wanted to do it.
Right.
It's not really anything you and I got to talk about, and I hope that it helped propel you a little bit to hear. But what I did for you by letting you get in free, you're not doing the same thing. You're not reciprocating. So why talk about it?
I am reciprocating. I learned it from you, so I got to give back.
Give me that check I just put in your pocket. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, we're gonna take a break. You're watching Community Crossfire, and Elaine, don't be like Lily and Naya. Elaine, be nice, okay? Come on, Wayne. Welcome back to Community Crossfire, another point of view. I'm your host, Storm Norman Oliver, and like I said, early on, so many people have been calling, thanking us for getting back on the air. And I think next week we may have back on the show world-renowned Pastor Gino Jennings from Philadelphia. As you know, guys, when he came on the last time, we had call-ins, we had people sitting in the audience, and we must have had, 2-3 million views on YouTube and Facebook, which is kind of phenomenal. I hope you've been enjoying this Father's Day edition. We have some laughs, but a lot of it's serious because sometimes you never know the pain that some people have without a father or the joy of being a father. So we're trying to bring them both. I have my good friend on now, Wayne Jefferson. How you doing, Wayne?
I'm good, Norm. How are you?
I'm good. Wayne, we were talking about, Jack and Shannon and myself, talking about fatherless homes. Tell me about your situation with your father or without your father.
Well, Norm, first, let me say Happy Father's Day to you and all fathers in the community. Norm, I grew up without my father. I actually didn't know who my father was until I was around 12.
Wow.
I mean, visually saw him.
Wow.
I knew of him, but I was happened to be walking down A Street on my way to Bancroft School, and I bumped into my dad. He knew me, but I didn't know him. And that was the first time I physically saw him. I was 12.
How did you feel?
Good question, man, because it was real strange.
Was it like numbing? Did you know of him?
I knew of him, and I heard all these stories about him and all this different kind of stuff, but I didn't physically see him until I was 12.
Wow.
And it was real strange, and I was happy, but I was a little angry, because like where you been? It's one of those things, man. Where have you been? And you were that close. Like he was here. He had traveled. He did some singing and with some groups, and he traveled throughout the country. So he was in and out of the city a lot.
Right.
But he lived here.
Right.
He lived here.
So he could have been a father. So he could have. I said, so he could have been a father.
Oh, yes. Yes.
So Wayne, let me ask you a question I asked Jack and Shannon, right? Because you were a pretty good athlete, pretty good basketball player. Man, I've known you all my life. We like cousins, distant cousins, family, whatever. How did that make you feel when you saw other fathers in the stands at a game or even at a park or something, and your father wasn't there?
Stone, that really bothered me. As a basketball player, growing up, a little popular, playing, got a chance to play, varsity basketball at Howard and play basketball in college.
Right.
And, and I would always see other parents, especially fathers, and it was big. I watched, fathers bring their sons to practice and stuff like that, man.
Wow.
It always warmed me, always.
Mm-hmm. Wow, that's deep. So Wayne, like you said, your father was in singing, similar to you, because you were brought up in a church and played the guitar. You sang, you and your brothers Bill and Ronnie. So you and your father, you guys didn't cross paths in that arena?
No, we didn't know, because he was he did a lot of R&B stuff, and I was in church, so it was a totally different arena.
How different would you be today, do you think, if your father was in your life in his inception?
Norm, I think I would be more passionate when it comes to fatherhood, because having two sons myself now, and when I was 22 when my first son was born, and I didn't have the passion of fatherhood and the know-how, because I was fatherless myself.
It's funny. We talked about that. How can you be a father if you never had a father? But when you probably never opened up about this until now for this Father's Day program. How did it make you feel now with your first son, not being as involved as you could have been?
Storm, one of my prayers every day, and you and I have talked many times about this.
Right.
One of my prayers every day, because he's 33 now.
Right.
And one of my prayers every day is that somehow, we can form a relationship. And it's funny, because last week, now my oldest son, now I'm a grandfather now, he has a 14-year-old son. And his son connected with my son.
Wow.
Via Facebook. And he called me, my grandson, who's 14, who I hadn't seen since he was 6 or 7.
Wow.
He called me on the phone and we had a conversation. And he said to me, Pop, I want you to talk to my dad.
Wow.
And I told him, in due time we will.
Wow.
And I told him how much I appreciated him being that person that may be able to bridge the gap. And he's 14 years old.
Wow. I mean, I hope folks who are watching appreciate our open dialogue, all these conversations, because we all have had different kind of experiences in our lives. And this guy is now executive director of William Hicks Anderson Center, the deputy director of Parks and Recreation, so you can move on. So let's talk about Little Wayne. So now you saw the difference, right? Now you got Little Wayne. Now you've been in his life since day one. So how, now you being a father, how things change with you as a person?
So Norm, that's where now, when he was born, I was there.
Wow.
And the passion that I didn't understand of fatherhood it was there, and it has been there. You know, Wayne is 19 now, and he lives with me, and it's like, I mean, I have done everything in my powers to be the best role model and father for him.
You know, ladies and gentlemen, if you just tuned in, I hope you are enjoying this Father's Day edition of Black Fathers here in the city of Wilmington. And I mean, in the state of Delaware, just the mindset of black men who appear to have it going on. Myself, Wayne, Jack, Shannon, and there's many others I could have brought on this show, from Tel Davis to so many other guys. I mean, then you heard Ivan, who had a father's life. So you never know. But the thing is, I keep saying, you can't go from where you were, it's where you're at now. So we can't keep making excuses, but we got to do better. So Wayne, what would you tell, I mean, you have a good handle, what would you tell a person to say, you know, especially a son raising sons without a father, to now raising a son with a father, and you without a father, so you got all three elements. How you feel, and how would you guide that conversation?
I would
it's a tricky question, but you get what I'm going at?
Yeah, but Norm, I would tell any father, if you have the physical ability to talk or reach out to your son, no matter what, do that. It's important. I mean, once or twice a week, you know, try to talk to them, spend some time with them. The situation may be that you're not with the mother, but still that's your child, and find a way. You must find a way, because it's more important now for black fathers to be, well, for all fathers to be in sons' lives right now. You know, it's just one of those times where we just need to be there, no matter what.
Wow. Hey, man, I appreciate your candor. I appreciate your honesty. And like you said, you and I talk a lot, so I know how humbling this experience may be. I know how your feelings have really gotten, especially when your grandson called you. And Tyrese, ladies and gentlemen, you may know this guy played at Boston College, had a fabulous overseas career. Matter of fact, he just won the championship and MVP, if I'm right, in Israel, right? So I get you. So what we're going to do is we're going to take a quick break. We're going to bring Jack and Shannon back with Wayne, and we're going to close out this Father's Day segment. And don't forget, in the next coming weeks, we're going to be making endorsements. We're going to talk about candidates. We haven't forgot about you because we're talking about Father's Day. Don't think we're getting too soft and mushroomy. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Community Crossfire, another point of view. I'm your host, Norman Oliver. I hope everyone's been enjoying this Black Father's Day program. I mean, you know, I tell you, having conversation with my friends, my peers, has been a little touching because we've all been through some stuff together as fathers and fatherless. So it's kind of amazing to share that story. For those who miss it, like I even told you that I have a brother. I just found out that he's 64. I live in London, England. He did not know he had brothers and sisters over here. Mm-hmm. And there's some real story. He and I have been speaking, and he got emotional. And of course, that's emotional time to find out you have an older brother from my father, our father the child, when he was in the Korean War. So that's some touching stuff. But I want to thank Wayne, Shannon, and Jack for sharing their stories. And we're going to open it up and kind of close the segment, but more on a happy note. Jack, I'll start with you. Jack Booker, just give me some good Father's Day stuff. You know, we've cheered up enough.
I mean, just to interact with my daughters and my granddaughters, Storm, on a consistent basis.
Stop that, but ain't that funny just saying the word grand?
Yeah, Storm, grand. And I'm telling you, I'm really, really enjoying this relationship. And I think because of some of the things that I went through being fatherless, turned my life and motivated me to be the best dad around and grandfather around. So I'm really enjoying that. And I'm looking forward to having my grandkids and my daughters tomorrow so they can fix me a nice Father's Day dinner and my wife.
What are you having?
I'm going to have me a lobster tail,
Oh, wow, okay.
some scallops, and
You got that knock on your door?
and some shrimps, like surf and turf kind of thing, but take the red meat out. So.
Okay. Shannon, come on. Maybe some better stories. I mean, how you feel? I know you and I like drinking that corn liquor.
I plead the fifth. I don't know what he talking about. I don't know what he's talking about. But happy Father's Day to everybody here on set and to all the fathers out there. Again, like I said, I think it's so many different stories out there for, the whole fatherhood thing as far as being fatherless, some father, no father. So, I just want everybody just kind of enjoy it. Just for me, it's been a pleasure to kind of be a father, just to, watch my kids and my extended kids as far as who I work with or I coach or whatever. So sometimes it's good just to have them grow up and come back, whether it's my kids or some of the team, the kids that I coach, when they come back and say, yo, he was like a father to me. Thank you. I'm working now, and this is kind of what's going on. So it's just those kind of stories that I just feel good about, that I love just, working with, kids and being a father to my kids. So I just enjoy that part of it.
Shannon, you got kids in college down Delaware State, right? Good Hornets.
Yeah, exactly. Me and my wife, we have a blended family, and
y'all like
I'm
the Brady Bunch.
very proud of all my kids.
You like the Brady Bunch.
One is working. One is working. Our kids is in college. Little Shannon to be a senior actually next year.
A senior?
Yeah,
Wow.
that's
I thought
be
he
a
was
freshman
gonna be
at
a
Dell
junior.
State. So all that Dell State. Since you want to talk about this Dell State college stuff, I know you got some scholarship money for us. Since you want to go there, you got some scholarship money for us.
Hey, Shannon, you do know I get the last word, right?
Nah, it's all good.
But I'm happy for that.
It's all
I watched
good.
Little Shannon.
Yeah.
But man, you can finish them down.
I'm just appreciative of, just a lot of stuff that, I learned, and whether it was good or bad from the whole fatherhood experience growing up. We learn from that. And then we just, want to give back whatever the best way that we can. So it's all good, man.
It's all good. Man.
It's all good.
And by the way, I did give him scholarship money.
You have. We appreciate
did
everything.
Work. Now his father's on the payroll. How far do we want to go with this? I'm joking.
As far as you can take me.
Oh, wait, Jefferson, man. Come on, let's have a little.
Always got my back.
What got going on, man?
Hey, Norma, just piggyback off a little bit what Shannon said about being, a father and seeing your kids do well. Wayne Jr. just completed his freshman year at New Hampshire Tech. He came home, finished his classes online, did well, and went out and got a job, man, on his own. I didn't have to help him or anything. He's at work right now at Home Depot. So some of the things I still instilled in him, it's coming to play now, and it feels real good.
Yeah,
that's cool.
Yeah.
And just to talk about meeting a brother, I met Kenny Cooper, who you know as Blue.
Yeah, right.
Grew up in South Bridge. I found out that he was my brother. Me and him was getting ready to fight in high school.
Wow.
He was in the 10th grade, I was in the 9th grade, and our mothers came to school because both of us were going to get suspended. And we found out we were brothers.
Wow. That's crazy.
That's how small this world
This
is.
small world. And Blue, and Wayne happens to be another guy on the payroll. Some things we won't disclose on the air. Oh, I disclosed it on the air.
That come from
Let me get the picture of Jack working down there, sleeping on the job. Let me give a shout out to my kids. Norm Jr., he's working at CBS, a very successful career. My daughter Naya is the dental hygienist in Maryland, and Jermaine is a director down at Port of Wilmington. He works for the ATF, what do you call that? Well, ATF, not ATF, but whatever. So down in Port of Wilmington. So in a funny, in a strange kind of way, guys, we all are doing a lot of good, right? We've experienced a lot of successes, a lot of hardships, and people who are watching this probably never heard these stories from us. So I think that it's good that we're opening up, that maybe it will help someone else in the Black community that can relate. And I guarantee you, we had so many people reaching out. And guys, I opened up, I'll be glad when the campaign season starts so we can start busting some butt. Because a lot of people been yapping. Let me change the subject a little bit because I'm ready to get it on. Because we're going to be up and down state. And like Wayne, I was telling him, my record is probably 95 out of 100. And we don't want to talk about the 5 people who lost, but that's a whole nother story. But we're going to come at them, Jack. We're going to come at it, Shannon. And we got barbers, we got beauticians. I know Lynn said this nigga was going crazy again. Yeah, I'm going crazy. Yeah, because some people deserve. I'm gonna get you. So, does anybody want to have something closing before I go? Because this has been let me stay on test. Jack, you're supposed to bring me back. You know.
I'm sitting over here laughing, man, because I'm imagining those 5 people that you was talking about. but I just want to
thank you. Happy Father's Day. Everybody.
Yeah, I just want to say Happy Father's Day to everybody, and may God continue to bless you and your family, and because of I guess the leadership and the village, I truly believe when God bless you, you bless others, and I think that's what you see here with me, Shannon, Wayne, and Storm. We've been blessed, and so we're blessing other folks.
That's right. We have been blessed, Jack.
Yeah.
Shannon, anything in closing?
Yeah, that's it. Like I said, I just want to say Happy Father's Day to everybody, and everybody just stay safe. I just think right now is a real explosive time with everything that's going on in the country with COVID and the whole everything else that's going on. So just stay safe, stick together, and Happy Father's Day to everybody.
Wayne?
And no, I just like to say Happy Father's Day to our panel, all you brothers. I appreciate y'all, and I watched all of y'all in your fatherhood experience. And I'd like to give a special shout out to I don't call him my stepson, but my wife's son, who is my son, Dante McGill, who's doing well, and also I don't call her my stepdaughter, I call her my daughter, Kiara Cannon. Special shout out, love y'all.
Oh, good. So, ladies and gentlemen, I hope you enjoyed this segment of Community Crossfire, Another Point of View, and we will be back next week with special guest Gino Jennings, and it's going to get live. But happy Father's Day to all your fathers, and I hope you enjoyed this segment, the good, the bad, and the funny stuff. And if this is too much for you, sometimes you may want to tune into another show, but we're going to keep it real. We're going to keep it honest. We're going to have some laughter, but we're also going to have some hard questions, and we're going to talk about some hard topics because this is Community Crossfire. Thank you again to the late Dr. Al Plant. Thank you again to our late Hazel Plant for getting this forum, and for the people who kept it going for me. I think I mentioned them earlier on, Sam and Julia Cephas and Richard Smith Bowsey, and I don't know who had the other show. It might have been Herman Holloway Jr., I'm not sure. But thank you guys for keeping that torch rolling, and maybe we'll have some people on. And we will be endorsing candidates. Keep up the good work. Council President Hanifa Shabazz, Mayor Mike Pazicki, Xanthia, Michelle, and the whole crew. And we're gonna be saying some other names later on. I just can't be right. I just can't do right. So let me get off the air.